Welcome back to Hardball. A few months after leaving the White House, the president's former communication director, Hope Hicks, made a guest appearance on Air Force One, accompanying her old boss to Ohio last weekend. The visit left many wondering what she's up to. According to Politico, she may be making a comeback. According to sources, people close to the president want Hope Hicks, quote, to play a role in Trump's nascent 2020 campaign. People close to Hicks say she is open to. We are back with the Hardball Roundtable. Emily, Eddie, Noah. Emily, it's one of the stories of the Trump presidency. People are in, then they're out, then they're back in. And if they're not back in yet, everybody's talking about them being back in, I guess.
If Hope Hicks comes back to the White House, comes back to the campaign, it'd be because she's very loyal to the president, that we know they have a genuine connection, a real relationship, father-daughter. And she is known in the West Wing as the Trump whisperer. If they're floating these stories, floating the idea of her coming back and helping out somehow in 2020, it's because they need her. They need her to translate his ideas into policy. They need her to calm him when he needs to be calmed.
Is there in the post-Hope Hicks White House, just from our standpoint here, is there any discernible difference to you, Eddie?
No, absolutely not. It's just chaos to my mind. I guess it's reasonable chaos with Hope Hicks present. Look, I don't understand this. I have no idea what's going on here. All I know is that Hope Hicks had an interview with Mueller, right? And all I know is I remember reading Fire and Fury where there's that moment on page 279 when Steve Bannon loses his mind because of the Air Force One meeting that Hope Hicks is back there doing it. He says, I'm going to tell your dad on it. And on the 279, he says, Donald Trump Jr. will crack like an egg. Michael Cohen will crack like an egg because this was treasonous. Now, she'd come back. But that still hovers over her head, just like it hovers over everybody else's head.
You got the book memorized. It sounds like the Kansas governor's race. That's I want to ask you about that. I'm fascinated by the irony that Chris Kobach, who has made his name nationally on election security, election minutia, all that, it's now going to come down potentially to a recount that officially his office ultimately has some control over statewide. But more broadly here, this is a big moment, I think, for the Republican Party in a way. What Chris Kobach represents, potentially being nominated in Kansas versus this much more sort of establishment candidate in a difference here of dozens, really, of votes.
Yeah, there was no internecine feud here until the president overruled some people around him in his orbit and said, I'm going to endorse Chris Kobach for this governorship over the incumbent sitting Republican governor. You don't normally do that. You don't do that for a reason, because it results in incumbents have very much built-in base of support, and obviously Donald Trump commands a lot of power and influence within the Republican Party, and it becomes this absolute stalemate. It doesn't get any closer than 91 votes out of a statewide race, and now we have basically an open war within the Republican Party in Kansas over the future of this seat. And meanwhile, a Democrat is going to be very competitive in this ruby red state. Kathleen Sebelius, former Health and Human Services Secretary, was the governor of Kansas. A Democrat can win a statewide race in Kansas, and governorships are going to be extremely important. We don't talk enough about them. Democrats are going to do very well on the state level, and it's arguably a lot more important than what's going to happen in Congress from the standpoint of a conservative reformer.
Yeah, in Kansas, it's a fascinating race. Democrats certainly have a shot out there. There's an independent, Greg Orman. Remember the 2014 midterms? Orman tried to crash the Senate race out there. Anyway, our roundtable staying with us. Up next, these three tell me something I don't know. You're watching Hardball.